This video is brought to you by my ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. The link is in the description. A big problem that guys have in the dating realm is that oftentimes they're doing things in the course of just dating a woman that are causing women to lose interest. And it's not that those activities are the worst things to do, but it's that some of those activities are better suited for when you're in an actual relationship with the woman. And I understand how this can be hard to get for some men because, we get told by women on TikTok and on YouTube, I don't want to date a guy that's just doing the bare minimum. If he's doing the bare minimum, he doesn't really care for me. I need a guy that's going to do more than the bare minimum. And what women don't understand is that we hear that and think, we need to be doing more than the bare minimum all the time, including during the dating phase. When women are telling you guys that they don't want a guy just doing the bare minimum, they're talking about men that they would potentially be in relationships with already. But I can assure you more often than not that does not apply to the dating phase. Because in the dating phase, you're trying to learn her and she's trying to learn you. And in the process of learning each other, you're going to be doing certain activities that are bare minimum activities, but they're bare minimum enough to be able to A, get to know each other, and B, help to build the attraction process to see if on her end, if you're worthy of a relationship, and on your end, seeing if she's actually worth giving all these extra resources, time, energy, effort, attention, and money to, right? And women get that, but men don't. And so women get that, but then they say, I want a guy that's giving more than a bare minimum, not being aware that guys are very literal. We're very literal in our language. We hear women don't want just the bare minimum, and we as guys say, compute that, okay, I'll give her more than that, but we don't understand that again. That's more for the relationship phase, not the dating phase. But the question still comes, okay, Harry, so what does it look like? What are examples of a guy that doing too much in the dating phase by doing things that would be better for the relationship phase? And so I have 5 things that are going to give you great examples of that. All right. So the first one, you giving a woman frequent gifts or spending a lot of money on her, because the reality is in the early phase of dating, that is an activity, an action that could potentially be seen as you trying to bribe the woman for her affection. And as I've said on the show before, you cannot bribe a woman enough to feel things for you. Yes, you can jet set her across the country and buy her all these things, these bags and these watches, and she'll like them. Like she'll enjoy getting the gifts. She'll enjoy traveling on your dime, but these things aren't going to adhere to her emotions. And so this is why in the dating phase of things, guys get so mad when they're like, I spent $200 on a meal and did this thing and took her to a trip and this and that, and she's not doing it. It's because you're not getting it. Those things will be fine to do in a relationship because at that point, she's earned those things. She spent 3 months with you, getting to know you. She hasn't been argumentative. She's shown that she wants you to lead. She's on your program. And at this point, even women understand, hey, I got to be the girlfriend. I'm now more deserving of those kind of things now than I was before. Even with that, a great girlfriend will still be like, babe, how much did that cost? You don't have to spend all that money on me. We can just spend a nice time together and whatever. But the point is that you're not going to lose too many brownie points if you're doing all this extra spending in a relationship. But in the dating phase, regardless of what you believe up to this point, regardless of what women on TikTok will tell you, you cannot buy a woman's affection. And so you need to get rid of the idea that you got to spend so much money. I've been able to impress women with nothing more than a $5 comedy show and a couple of slices of pizza on dates, right? Because again, I'm making it more about getting to know her, getting us to know each other and what our likes and dislikes are, trying to make her laugh, trying to make her feel things, trying to give her good hookups. Those things are going to be a lot better to try to build up attraction with her than it is spending a lot of money. So that's the first thing. The second example, and I go over this all the time, is excessive texting or calling. Now, you as a guy, once you're in a relationship, will be able to get away with a little bit more texting. Like you can send good morning text. You can send random memes throughout the day if you want to. And again, I put an asterisk next to that because it's not on an excessive level. I still stand by the mantra of you should spend the majority of your texting energy trying to set up plans. Hey, babe, I got a great place we're going to. Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. Mixed in with a few, how's your days? I tell you guys, quite consistently that it needs to be a 3-to-1 ratio. For every 3 texts that she initiates, you initiate 1 text. And I got a whole book on my website you can get right now on the cheap, mind you, called Texting Women Like a Boss, that'll walk you through that. But the mistake guys make is thinking women bond through communication. I need to therefore communicate with her all the time. And then they send out text after text after text after text, and then they can't figure out why the woman is losing interest. Well, it's because early on in the dating phase, less of you is actually more. And when you're over texting, what you're basically doing is you're forcing yourself into a woman's life during a time when she's trying to figure out if that's what she wants from you, you know? And yeah, you might have met her on a dating app. You might have been texting her in the beginning to try to get that date. Once you actually get these in-person dates, your texting should be limited to when you're planning a date, or God forbid she starts to complain, hey, you don't text me as much and blah, 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 which is what you want. But suffice to say, if she starts complaining about it, then you can up your texting a little bit. But you don't want to just automatically assume, oh, we had a good conversation. Now she's going to want to hear from me all the time. I'm going to totally do that. Now, again, in the relationship phase, that is an activity that you can get away with a lot easier. But I'm telling you guys, you doing it during the dating phase, it's killing a lot of your guys' chances with these women. The third example of something you can do in the relationship phase versus the dating phase is having constant availability. Now you're thinking, I don't want to mess up any chance that I have of getting with her, and I don't know what her time frame is or when she's open during the week, but I want to make sure that whenever she's available to go on a date, I'm also available. That is not quite having the effect that you want it to have. You're thinking if you're available all the time, it's going to be seen as a good thing. Women don't like men that are always available, because what it says to them is this guy's so needy that he's always available when I am, but also, how does he not have a life outside of seeing me? Like, why is it that he's not doing other things? He's not potentially chasing after other goals he has. He doesn't have other women possibly interested that he's vetting right now. Like, what's going on? Now, when you're actually in a relationship with a woman, yeah, you're going to obviously have more time available to see her. But at that point, again, she's earned the ability to have more of your time. And in the beginning, you're just giving it freely to her. She's going to be wondering, why is he giving me his time so freely? Like, how I've done nothing to earn that. And that makes her think negative things like, he must be really desperate. He doesn't have any other offers or prospects. Oh my God, he's going to want all of my time and attention. And do I even want that? Versus if you let it make it where, you know, you're asking her out once a week, that gives her the space to come to you to ask for more of your time. And as she asks for more of your time, her subconscious brain's going to be thinking, why am I asking to spend more time with this guy? It must be because I like him, which means she's now coming to the conclusion of her own accord that she must really like you and want you as the boyfriend. And that can't happen if you're readily available. At the point that you become the boyfriend in the situation, yeah, you can make yourself a little bit available. And even then, you should still have times where you are legitimately busy and say, babe, I can't make this date today, but what about we do it this day instead? Babe, I'm on a call right now, so I can't pick up the phone, but I will definitely speak to you after this call. Like, you still need to be doing those things in a relationship, but I'm just saying being more available in the relationship is going to be a bit more understandable. The fourth activity is acts of service. This means you going out of your way to help with tasks. The number of guys that I've seen say things like, hey, I can help you move. Or, hey, I have a connect at this other place where you're trying to get a hookup with a job, or at this club. I could totally put you down. Like, those are activities you're thinking are going to give you like extra brownie points to this woman. And I've just found they do not. Like, you overextending yourself in the dating phase typically makes a woman feel like, okay, I can use him for various things, but that's not going to make her build attraction to you. And she could actually start to think to herself, man, he's such a great utility guy that I don't want to mess that up. Like, you're thinking, I'm going to give her a hookup here. I'm going to do this for her. I'm going to move her furniture. I'm going to help her, if you're in college, like pass a study course that she's having trouble in, this and that. All she's going to think now is these hookups are amazing, and I don't want to ruin this by potentially messing with him now, because then my hookup guy goes away, which ironically means she won't be hooking up with you in the capacity that you think. Now, at the point you get into a relationship, now you can stretch yourself a little bit further. You know, you can be that guy that volunteers to help her move, or be that guy that volunteers to cook a meal at her place. And this might sound confusing because you're thinking, but Harry, aren't I taking her on dates? Aren't I like taking her places where I'm paying for the dates? I'm planning things. Like, how is that not overextending, or how is that not an act of service? Well, you're setting up scenarios to get to know her. You're setting up scenarios to potentially hook up at her place, okay? And that's just par for the course. But women will see that and be like, that's not overextending. For example, you planning a date where you go to like a pizza dinner, or you go for a walk on the beach, or you go to a comedy club. These things don't cost a lot of money. These things, you're planning those events to happen on your time when you can do them. So this is going to be seen as like overextending. You trying to invite her out to a $200 dinner, or you trying to set up a date where you're going to move her furniture or paint her walls for her, or, you know, other kind of stuff like that. Those are things that look like, oh, now you're the acts of service guy. Now you're going beyond just trying to go a date here or there, and you're going into like things to personally help her in her life, or you're trying to be her personal counselor with the problem she's going through. Those are things that you would think they'd be appreciative, but they are not. Because while you're doing those things to help her out, she's got another guy on the side that's not doing those things, that is regularly banging her brains out, which to the point, don't think you got to overextend or volunteer for these acts of service for her to want to do these things. I can assure you, you can get away with doing those things, those physical things, those makeout things, without having to do any kinds of acts of service, all right? And then the last activity is you trying to plan a future with a woman. This is a big thing that most of you guys probably don't understand, but check with me, right? Because you're hearing women say, I want a guy that's going to take me serious. I want a guy that is a relationship-focused guy. And you're thinking, okay, the conversation I need to come back with is, oh, of course I'm thinking about a future. I can see us being together long-term. Matter of fact, I can see us moving in together. I can see us having kids together, blah, 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 right? Future speak is rarely an exercise that's going to make her agree with you and think that, oh, she wants those things too, even if she brought it up. Like her bringing it up, we want her all day to bring it up. But you bringing up future speak, it is not a good idea during the dating phase, because here's the biggest thing, right? There needs to be an air of mystery during the dating phase about where your head is at in reference to her. Because yes, we want her doing a good job, but we want her questioning if she's doing a good enough job to make you want to be in a relationship with her. And a lot of times guys have that backwards. You think that you got to prove to her why you deserve to be in a relationship with her. And so you want to do all the things and say all the things and bring up emotions and feelings and talk about future speak. But really, sad to say, guys, there needs to be an air of mystery that's there to where she doesn't completely know how you're vetting her right now. Like by month 2 to 2.5, she's going to be starting to think about, I've spent a good amount of time with this guy. He's been consistent. He's been trustworthy. I think I could see a future with him, but I don't know where his head's at. And that thought right there is going to be the one that's going to make her go to her girlfriends and ask about, well, you know, does he see me in this capacity, or what's going on? Or let me analyze the dates we've been on and the conversations we've had. But he hasn't really said anything about a future. I don't know where his head's at. You know how I know this works? Because I have female friends that regularly come to me with guys that they're dating and ask those questions. Well, we've gone out for 2 months, but I don't know where he's at. And I this and that. Matter of fact, it's funny. I had a conversation the other day where I accidentally sent a message to a group chat that I was in, but I was trying to send it to one person, but it went to both people that I was talking to because we were in a chat about some project I'm working on, right? And so I was saying to my female friend that, you know, because she was questioning about if this guy really liked her. It's been 2 months of dating. He hasn't said anything about whatever. And so I was saying to her, I said, honestly, the way I typically get into relationships is after like 2 months of dating, a girl will come to me and be like, hey, so what are we? What's happening with this? What's going on? And they might be mad because they're mad because they don't know. They don't know where my head's at. But that's the motivation I need from them to come to me to ask me what I want, because I know going to them is going to be downfall, right? So this other woman that ended up being in the chat was like, yeah, she said this verbatim. She literally said the man that she's now married to, when they were dating, they had gone out for like 6 weeks and they were spending a lot of time together. At no time had he talked about the future, and she was upset. So what she did was she said she purposely picked a fight with this man so that way she could just bring up, well, I mean, and I don't even know where this is going because you haven't said how you feel about me. And so I just want to know, like, what are we doing here? Where are we at? So she purposely picked the fight so that way they could now talk about future stuff because she wanted to talk about it. And that's what you guys don't get sometimes, is that women of their own accord are going to start bringing up things about futures and relationships. But if you bring it up, you're going to probably be feeling that you see a future with this woman after 2 or 3 dates, and it's going to be too soon. Now, at the point that she brings it up, you guys get into a relationship. Now, if conversations come along about like, hey, so where do you see us going in terms of like having kids or living in a certain part of the country or whatever, then if you bring those up sporadically, it's not going to be seen as too soon because she was already bringing that up when you guys got into a relationship. And even then, even with that, again, because I stress these are things that you can do and get away with a lot better in a relationship. But even with that, guys, these are still activities and things that more often than not, women should be doing most of. Women should be the ones that are mostly, okay, not getting you gifts and stuff, although we do want women to be getting gifts and spending sporadically here or there, right? But in terms of like texting stuff, in terms of being available, in terms of volunteering to do stuff, and in terms of planning futures, those are activities that women should still be doing more of. Like I tell you guys, 3-to-1 ratio. For every 3 times she initiates a text, you initiate a text. For every 3 times that she says, I'm available, make yourself available. For every 3 times that she volunteers, hey, and by the way, women in relationships, if you really pay attention, you got a good woman, is going to be doing a lot of volunteering. I'm talking cooking meals for you. I'm talking saying things like, hey, babe, I was at the store today and you mentioned you needed this tie and I got you this tie. Like they're going to do so much of that if you're paying attention that, and all they're going to want from you is a thank you and for you to take them out on a date once or twice a week. Guys, if you find a good girl, she's going to be doing more of that stuff than you. Like but she's not going to feel like it's imbalanced because the things you're bringing to the table in terms of emotionally supporting her, being a shoulder to cry on, being somebody she can have a good time with, those things are infinitely valuable to women. How do I know this? Because I have women that are in their late 30s to early 40s that are friends of mine on Facebook who are single that I constantly see saying things like, I'm going on this trip, guys. Who wants to go with me? Or, oh, I'm going to the show tonight. I wish I had somebody to go with me. Like, don't take out the fact that your presence in her life is inherently valuable for the simple fact that she won't have to be alone. And so with that said, that's why it's important to know that you being in a relationship with a woman is a big deal to her. And that means that some of these activities you want to do now, she's willing to wait for them to happen because she wants to get you to the point where she feels as though she has enough attraction for you to be the boyfriend. Help her get you to that point by not doing all these things I talked about in the dating phase and escalate them a bit in the relationship phase and things will work out immensely. So hopefully hopefully I've talked about that in a way that guy finds pleasing.